I've just finished quite an amazing session with a guy about self-love, self-acceptance, and all these things, which seem a bit airy-fairy, but it's actually very, very practical. It changes how we act in the world. So, and this guy wants to change his neediness, his insecurity, and the amount of respect he gets from other people as well. So basically, we have come over months very gradually to the point where we're now talking about self-love, and it's very important that we love ourselves. And on this blog post that I'm going to read from, that I wrote on inspirationparadise.org, we have quite a few important insights. And the first one is that other people's opinions of you and of me do not have to dictate what our opinions are of ourselves. Everybody knows this, right? But does everybody apply it? Not everybody. If you can apply this, not everybody's, no one's opinion of me has to dictate what I think about myself. I mean, let's go extreme. Even if you sucked at a sport, you can actually mentally say, no, I'm the best at this sport, even if you're failing in front of everybody. So that's just to show that you can actually use your mind to control your own opinion of yourself. And at some point we have to think, what kind of a life do I want to live? What do I want in my life? What do I want my life to be like? And this question extends to, what do I want to think about myself? What attitude do I want to have towards myself, And so, what is your answer to that question? Well, how do you want to think about yourself? What do you want to feel about yourself? Some people would say, well, I just want to be a realist. I want to just be I want to hate on myself when I do bad, and no one really says that, do they? They never say, I want to chastise myself when I do bad, or when I yeah, some people would say that, but really we want to have a fatherly or a motherly perspective towards ourselves. So if we mess up, if we do something wrong, we don't want to be hating on ourselves. We want to be firmly, maturely guiding ourselves, So, yeah, how do we want to act towards ourselves is a good question. And if you get the answer to that question, then you can be that way towards yourself. And other people's opinions of you will just show more about them than you. So, because you already know what you are, you already know your opinion of yourself. So you don't need to go to other people for your opinion of yourself. A lot of people are out here basically asking other people, what should I think about myself? How should I view myself? Am I good? Am I bad? Tell me about myself, please. I want to know, what is my social standing, right? What is my standing here? What am I like? Please tell me, guys, how should I view myself? And that is a fear-based perspective. That is a scarcity mindset. If you think about in the ancient tribes 100,000 years ago, you could grow up in a part of a tribe where you grow up and you basically, your mind is going, how do I fit in? All I want to do is fit into this tribe. And essentially, in order to do that, you ask everybody, how should I feel about myself? What should I think about myself? What am I? Am I up here? Am I down here? What am I? And is anybody, unless they love you really, truly, is anybody ever going to say, David, you're above me? A lot of people won't, okay? A lot of people will. Some people actually will. And these are the people who have the same problem that you have. Or the people... Just getting a message from my phone there. Alright, hang on a minute. Swag. I'm in the van. That's a great message right there. Okay. Yeah, so if you have this issue of you're looking for other people's opinions to validate or dictate your own opinion about yourself, then you'll be similar, the same as someone who, you know, basically you can do this to other people. Alright. So, yeah. Basically, you want to love yourself regardless of your performance in the world. You listen, right? You might go out to a social event and you might be awkward. I've experienced that many times. And it's like, are you going to go home hating on yourself for that? A lot of people do. But all it is really is a skill issue. And you can say to yourself, you know what? Yeah, I felt a bit awkward last night. I wonder why. You know, what do I have to realize about myself? What do I have to realize about sociality? What do I have to know? How can I solve this? But after that question, or before that question, there has to be self-acceptance. There has to be, you know what? I'm awkward. And that's okay. Right? I'm just here on this spinning globe. And I don't really know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on, right? I'm okay. You know? There has to be self-acceptance. Doesn't mean that we're accepting the fact that we're accepting being awkward in the future. Because we don't want to be awkward in the future, right? But in order to change, we have to stop self-sabotaging. In order to do that, we have to allow ourselves to be where we are. Because in order to get from where we are to where we want to be, we have to learn some things, and we have to actually we have to make the right steps. Like, we have to understand the right things, and we can't do that if we're trying to pull ourselves up without, you know, you might not be ready. If you're trying to pull yourself up from square one to like square 17, A, you're not at square 17, you're at square one, and B, if you somehow manage to magically pull yourself up from square one to square 17, you wouldn't have been ready to do that. So it would be a horrible experience. You have to go from square one, learn how to get to square two, learn how to get to square three, and let's go deeper. If you're not at square two, simply you've got to look at square two, look up there, and look at where you are. How do I get from here to there? You can't, you have to accept where you are. You have to know where you are in order to get there. So, but in this day and age, a lot of people are worried about their position. And it's just like, we don't have to be. We really don't have to be. So that's the first one. The first insight there in this blog post is we don't have to allow other people's opinions of us to dictate how we think about us, right? We don't have to. We can think about whatever we like about us. Like, we can think whatever we like about us. It's usually healthy to not think too well of ourselves. Like, I am the second coming of Christ. I am the best person in the world. And it's also often not healthy to think badly about ourselves, like, I am the worst person in the world, I suck. You know, a nice balanced view of ourselves. But here's the kicker. The second insight in this blog post is the only true opinion of ourselves is God's. If God exists, that would be his opinion would be the only true opinion of ourselves. Why? Because he's the only one who knows us truly, fully. Like, even we don't know everything about ourselves. Even we don't understand ourselves fully. But knowledge which we share between us and God only is our heart. We and God, we know our heart truly, and perhaps a few other people in the world. Strangers and haters who might hate on you, they don't know your intentions, they don't know your heart. So basing our opinions of ourselves on their opinions of us is folly. So, yeah, we got to base our opinions of ourselves on what we want to feel about ourselves, but also, I mean, we don't even have to have an opinion of ourselves, because it's not going to be 100% true. So why bother? The only true opinion of us is God's, because God knows us fully. Only God knows us fully. So that's quite an interesting insight there. What's the third one? Is this going to cut off when I do this? I hope not. Right, let me see. The third insight to help us with self-love is that we are not our mind. We are what is aware of the mind. You practice this right now. You can see this right now. There's no barrier to entry to understand this. Right now, you can sit in meditation and observe your mind and all the stuff that happens in experience, and realize that you are just watching it. So in order to build self-love, it's a very good idea, very good practice to sit in meditation, observe the mental activity, the emotions, and any negativity as well. Observe this. But while you're observing that, realize you're observing it from over here, from over here, right? And over here is a peaceful place. If you're observing negativity, that means that you are separate from it. And so you're in a peaceful place. And like I said to my client just now, you can't escape love. If you observe your experience, you can't escape peace. But a lot of us are just like stuck in the mind activity, feeling emotions, and we can't, like, we don't like choose to feel anything else. Like, we don't choose to break away from it. Learning to distance ourselves from our activity, our mental activity, is a great thing to do. And it allows us to bask in love. And it allows us to realize that I am love. This is deep, right? This is massively deep, but where else better than on the Inspiration Paradise YouTube channel? We are love itself. The mind activity creates an ego. David Reynolds, this dude, I have a job, I have to live here, I do this, I do. This is all mental activity, it's all in the mind. And it can all be perceived in the mind, all my emotions, it's all that. That's David ego there. But me, who I truly am, is observing this big complex web of mental activity, which is like a decoy, actually. It's like a decoy identity. It's an ego. And I am observing it here, and this consciousness is peace. What I truly am, what you truly are, is peace. Another word for this is love. You know? But unless you see it and you feel it, you'll be gobbledygook. But I just gotta say this for the visual people out there. When I say I am peace, I am... You're looking at a body, but the body is in my experience. I am observing the body. So are you. We're observing the body. And it's just another thing that's in our experience which we are aware of. So when I look at my body there, or the body, that body there, I identify with it, but I know that it's just in my experience and I'm aware of it. It's another thing I'm aware of. I am aware of, right? I have nothing really to do with this. Unless consciousness is created by the brain. But whether it is or not, it doesn't matter, because in my personal experience, what I'm saying is true. In my personal experience, it's still, this is something I'm aware of, and I am at peace. I am peace. So we are not our mind. When we're aware of our mind, it's very easy to be at peace. Because anything can be happening in the mind. And this does extend to the world as well. This is very advanced. But I have a story to illustrate this point. But in the mind, all sorts of chaos can be happening in the mind, and we can peacefully observe it. My own mind, when I sit down, I'll get feelings, I'll get discomfort, I'll get all sorts. I'm just aware of it, I'm just peacefully looking at it. I sat there in peace, blissing out, while the mind is going crazy. So, when we know this, when we can access this, we are love. Self-love becomes very, very easy. To illustrate this in the world way, like chaos in the mind, but what about chaos in the world? There was apparently a monk 1,000 years ago who was raided by Vikings, and basically this monk, it was a monk monastery, but this monk was high spiritual. Like this dude was, this was a real bad man. Now this guy was crazy, man. So he was very wise, is what I'm saying. And essentially, the Vikings came into the church, or wherever it was, their hermitage, and basically just threatened to kill this dude. I could slice this sword into you right now, monk. And this monk is just out there meditating. So in this monk's experience, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on right now. People are getting killed all around me. Vikings are shouting, they've got beards. It's clashing of swords, unbelievable stuff. I mean, really, there's no clashing of swords because the monks aren't fighting back. But crazy chaos is happening in the world for this monk right here. But the Viking said to him, I can slice this through you right now. Why aren't you scared? Viking says. The monk says, I don't care, the monk says nothing. The monk looks at him and he's just like, because he's applying what I'm saying here, which is observing life from a place of peace, knowing that I am actually separate from my experience. I am observing the experience. And essentially, the Vikings were so blown away by this that they left. The amount of respect that happened in that situation, that happened for those Vikings towards this monk. You know, sometimes you just got to leave life. Sometimes, you know, you see a beautiful beetle or something, and it's like, wow, I'm not even going to pick that up. I'm just going to leave that alone because, wow, that's beautiful. And it's one of these where it was so powerful, so profound, that the Vikings had to admit, they had to acknowledge it. Otherwise, you know, God would look very, very unfavorably towards them. You know, it would be very foolish to kill those monks. So yeah. So that's how this translates into the worldly sense, where it's like, maybe you don't have Vikings coming into your hermitage trying to kill you, but you might have an annoying boss. You might have annoying kids even. You know, you might have all sorts of chaotic stuff going on in the world. But if you have this ability to healthily detach from life, from your visual experience, your senses, that can be amazing. Because after a session of meditation, when you've practiced this ability to be free from the world, then when you go back into experiencing the world and engaging in the world, you carry this knowledge with you, this ability to be unaffected by the chaos. And how this changes how people interact with their kids and other people is very, very beautiful. The word could be kindness. Kindness. That's what happens. If there's somebody barking at me, or, you know, somebody being weird towards me, I look at them and I'm still kind to them. It's like I'm watching a movie, and it's like, okay, if I need to set a boundary, I will engage in the human experience. I'll engage in the world, right? But I think it's quite important for self-love to be able to detach from the chaos of the world and, you know, just enjoy life. Woo! So self-love, you are not your mind. This is very important information, and it allows us to bask in love. Bask in love. When you sit there in meditation and you're watching the mind do its thing, and perhaps you have your eyes open, you're looking at the world, bro, you can't avoid peace, bro. You can't avoid peace and love. You can't avoid it. And I'll tell you this, you'll get thoughts in the mind like, oh, David, I wish you were richer. Oh, David, I wish you were cooler. Oh, David, you know, you'll get a call from your ego. Hey, can you be different? Can you be better, please? This is all mental activity. All of this is mental activity which you can peacefully observe. And while observing it, it becomes very easy to understand it. You know, why are these thoughts coming up? Well, first of all, there's a human being here. This human being's modus operandi is to survive. And I don't know where this human being comes from, really. Are we aliens? I don't know. You know, what are we? I don't know. But there just is a human being here. Its modus operandi, its thing, is to survive. And therefore, it separates itself out from the world in order to survive. It separates itself from the world, blah, 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 blah. And basically it all ends up with us thinking things about ourselves which we think helps us to survive. At one point in our lives, it helped us to think negatively about ourselves. At one point, it was like, you know what? When I tell myself to be quiet and that my thoughts don't matter, or my feelings, my needs don't matter, I do better in school because I get shouted at less, you know? And when I say do better, I don't mean grades, although perhaps that could be. But I mean in terms of not getting shouted at and stuff. You know, so all these thoughts, if we observe them, we can understand them. And if we can understand them, we can undo them, bro. We can undo them, we can replace them. I've got a habit now of giving this particular exercise to people, which is keeping a negative, positive thought journal. A journal of whenever you see a negative thought, whenever you observe a negative thought in your own mind, write that down into this book that you have, and then next to it, write a positive version of it, you know, because you have identified a negative thought that has appeared in your mind. Perhaps it started off as a feeling, but you went, hang on, I feel a bit negative here. What's going on? What's going on in my mind? What am I thinking? Yeah. And then you get the thought in text form, and then you write that down. Switching this, reversing this, reverting this, or transforming this, yeah, not sure that's the right word, to a positive version. What this does is, I mean, you've taken a negative thought that has naturally appeared in your mind, and now you've got the positive version. Writing that down really allows you to work with it. So here's the positive version. Let's get an example. You know, maybe I'm feeling like shit. Oh, I don't feel like I could be successful. I don't feel like I could be successful. Right? That is a negative thought, you know. You know. Okay, and maybe you go deeper into it. Maybe I don't feel like I don't think I have it what it takes. I don't think I have what it takes. Okay, now we put that in the journal. What's the positive version of that? I don't feel like I have what it takes. Well, a very simple way to convert this. That's the right word. Convert this into a positive is just to say, I do have what it takes. And I'll tell you now, if you write that down and you work with it, don't just write it down, just do anything locked away, never read it again. No, I want you to work with this, right? I do have what it takes. Find evidence, really embrace this positive belief. Really work with it. If you don't work with it, then it doesn't do anything. There's no point in even writing it down. Working with it. What has anybody in my position ever succeeded before at what I'm trying to do? Maybe, maybe not. That's evidence. Get evidence. If you work with it and you obsess over it a little bit, your brain will change. It will no longer bring up that negative thought. And if it does by just force of habit, you'll be able to immediately just think the positive version and just say, no, brain, this is the truth. That's the key, right? So that's a great exercise. Take that home with you. Give yourself a nice negative, positive thought journal. And I'm going to end the video here, and we'll carry on with the blog post later on. Thank you for watching. My name is David Reynolds. If you desire coaching, if you want some help with your dream life creation, inspirationparadise.org is the place to go. Inspiration Paradise, blog content on there, all sorts of forum stuff on there, loads of stuff. If you want to just improve your life, get healthier and happier. Let's go. Subscribe, like, comment any thoughts, any questions. I would love to answer these. I can answer them in a video. That would be awesome. Thank you for watching. Peace, love, goodbye. All right. Woo!